My boss refused to pay us for months, so we brought the whole company down. Hey Reddit. I never thought I'd have one of those stories, but here we are. Buckle up, because this is the tale of how my boss thought he could get away with not paying his employees, and how karma came for him like a freight train. Back in 2019, I, 28M at the time, was hired as a software developer at a small but growing tech startup. Let's call it Pulseware. We made custom SaaS solutions for mid-sized logistics and inventory companies. Boring stuff to outsiders, but it paid well and had a lot of upside. When I interviewed, the CEO, we'll call him Ethan, sold me on the classic startup dream: equity, rapid growth, collaborative culture, and the promise that everyone eats when we IPO. I was cautiously optimistic, but I needed a job, and on paper, everything looked fine that we were a small team, 8 full-timers and 3 contractors. We were based in a warehouse-turned-office in a hipster part of town. Ethan ran the company like a mix between Elon Musk and a frat president. Inspirational quotes on the wall, but the fridge was stocked with energy drinks and IPAs. The first few months were great. We were building an awesome tool. Our clients were happy, and I genuinely liked the team. Then the cracks began to show. One Friday in February 2020, we didn't get our direct deposits. No email, no warning. When a few of us brought it up, Ethan brushed it off. Bank delay. You'll see it Monday. Monday came. Nothing done on Tuesday. He finally sent a Slack message. Sorry guys. Had a small funding delay. Should be resolved by end of week. Hang tight. I promise you'll be made whole. We were nervous, but startups run lean, and sometimes there are hiccups. So we waited. Friday came. Still nothing. When we asked again, Ethan got cagey. I'm restructuring some cash flow with our investors. We're in growth mode. Trust the process. At this point, some of us started talking. It turned out none of the contractors had been paid in over a month. Some full-timers were missing reimbursements from as far back as December. A few of us considered quitting, but we'd been promised stock options, and leaving might mean losing them. Ethan was also a master manipulator. He'd talk about being part of something bigger, how Amazon went years without profit, and how everyone who sticks around will be a millionaire. As time went on, things got weirder. People started coming in late or not at all. Morale was shot. When we asked about paychecks, Ethan started dodging meetings. Then he'd host these motivational all-hands meetings where he'd basically gaslight us. Look, I know it's tough right now, but if you walk away, you're walking away from legacy. This is when empires are built. He even had the nerve to bring up Steve Jobs, saying he was fired from his own company before he came back to revolutionize the world. Dude, you're not Jobs. You're just not paying people. When our lead designer, Sarah, pressed him directly, Ethan pulled her into a private call and told her she was being toxic to the culture. She quit the next day and didn't get her last month's pay. That was a wake-up call. But the worst was yet to come. Chapter 4. The breaking point. By April 2020, I was owed nearly 2 months' salary. My rent was due. My credit card was maxed. From covering groceries and bills, I was drowning. But here's the kicker. Ethan was still posting on LinkedIn like everything was fine, bragging about new deals, talking about Series A on the horizon, posting photos from off-site meetings that looked more like parties. One day, a junior developer named Nate finally lost it. During our Zoom stand-up, he unmuted and just said, "Are you going to pay us or not, Ethan?" There was a long pause. Then Ethan replied, "If you don't believe in the mission, maybe this isn't the place for you." Nate quit on the spot. So did another contractor. That afternoon, the 5 of us who were left, me, our QA lead, the backend dev, the office manager, and our one remaining contractor, had a private Slack call that we were done. And we were going to take him down. We started digging. The office manager, let's call her Priya, had access to some financials. She discovered that Ethan had received a bridge loan from an angel investor a month earlier, but instead of paying us, he'd spent thousands on new branded merchandise and executive coaching. I started compiling everything. Unpaid invoices, screenshots of Slack messages, bank notices of failed payments, Ethan's public posts about growth, email chains promising payment. Next week, Priya even found out he'd fired a junior dev 2 weeks earlier and never offboarded her accounts, which meant we had access to her emails. and discovered that Ethan had been using employee credentials to falsify project progress reports to a client. The IT wasn't just unethical. It was potentially fraudulent. That was our smoking gun that we sent an anonymous tip package to 3 places. The Department of Labor. The major client, Ethan, was faking updates to a journalist from a regional tech blog known for covering startup drama. The dominoes fell fast. First, the client dropped us like a hot rock and threatened legal action for breach of contract. Then the journalist published an article titled, "Inside the Collapse of Pulseware: Delayed Paychecks, Fraud, and Lies," featuring quotes from anonymous employees, us, and screenshots of Ethan's contradictions. Within 48 hours, investors pulled out. The company's website went down. Ethan deleted his social media accounts, and 2 weeks later, the Department of Labor opened a case against Pulseware for wage theft and labor violations. Ethan tried to spin it. He emailed us from a new address, begging for a reset and offering retroactive pay once cash flow improves. Too late. The last time I heard about him, he was trying to launch a new startup in cryptocurrency. Of course, meanwhile, with help from Priya, we filed a wage complaint through our state's labor board. It took a few months, but we each received partial restitution through the company's remaining assets. Ethan was barred from being a corporate officer in our state for several years. That I moved on to a new dev job at a company that actually pays on time and treats people like humans. Sometimes, I still think about Pulseware, the promise it had, the way Ethan burned it to the ground with greed and ego. But mostly, I remember the look on his face during that final Zoom when everything came crashing down. My boss at a tech startup stopped paying employees, gaslighted us about it, and spent investor money on nonsense. My coworkers and I gathered evidence, exposed him to clients, labor officials, and the press. Company collapsed, boss got blacklisted, and we got partial restitution. Karma wins again.